received some great news to start the year. I submitted 4 portfolios to the Tokyo International Foto Awards, and of those 4, 3 were recognized, 2 honorable mentions, and 1 bronze award for my series of an amateur fine art portfolio. And I received a bronze award for that. And I would like to introduce those photos to you today and a little bit of commentary on why I feel that this series received recognition and the other 3 were only honorable mentions and not recognized at all. For this winning submission, I wrote a description that I wanted people to keep in mind when they were looking at these images. And I really feel that that's one of the main reasons why I was able to receive a higher recognition for this series. And I'm going to read it for you. So I'm going to forget it. I can't remember it word for word, so I'm going to read it for you. Photographing patterns and textures while also placing subjects within the composition is a balancing act. You need to dynamically reveal the patterns and textures, but your main subject inhabiting that space cannot detract from or overshadow the environments that they're in. The main subject is the splash of life that binds the image together. Discovering these kinds of scenes are like finding gold in the river. It is rare and precious. So the series is called Gold in the River, Life, Patterns, and Textures. So that's the summation of what this series is. So let's go through image by image, and I think keeping that idea in your mind, that description in your mind, it helps make this a very coherent series. So in this photo here, we have a gentleman walking down. This is a north, I always forget the name of it, North Breakwater Front or North Front Breakwater in Wakkanai, the northernmost part of Hokkaido. I just happened to be there at the perfect time as the sun was coming in horizontally and it was hitting these pillars that were holding up the breakwater front and casting these enormous amazing shadows across the underside here. Now, at the same time, there were some children playing. They parked their bicycles there. And as the gentleman was walking down this corridor, he was captured every 2 or 3 steps into the light that was coming in between the pillars. Now, this photo here came out in that episode, but I actually chose another photo from the same location, taken maybe only minutes apart. I felt that this one was more of a fine art print. I thought the other photo might be a little bit more of a street photography, but this one really, it struck me as a fine art photo because the composition takes in the pattern of those pillars a lot more. And the way that I edited it as well, it really just immediately zooms your eye right to where that boy is standing in the only spot that's highlighted in the background. And he's silhouetted in that zone right there. There's another little boy that is directly in the light coming through the pillars. So I really absolutely love that one was in the light, one was silhouetted with the light behind him. The way that the pillars and the editing works, it just draws your eye straight to those kids. This next image here came out in an episode that really hasn't had many views at all. This is a floating torii gate in Hokkaido, I think one of 2 maybe. I went to photograph this in the summer on a rainy day, and there was a couple of children that were playing in front of the torii gate for what seemed like forever. And I really was just waiting for them to leave to get a clean shot.
Well, I waited and waited and waited and waited, but the kiddos were just not going anywhere.
So long that I decided just to incorporate them in the image, and to great effect. The texture, I think, is very different than the other textures. The texture of the water here is just smooth and creamy. In the little spots here and there, you can see some rocks coming through. We have a little bit of texture of the rocks down in the bottom of the frame. There's 2 boys here, but because I did take a long exposure, they're almost ghost-like in this image. because he's silhouetted with that white water in the background, it really seems very ghost-like, and I have a very visceral reaction to this photo. I decided to keep this in black and white because I really feel that the fine art value of it, it has a different feeling to it, whether it's in color or in black and white. This image here came out in one of my earlier episodes, and I took this image on my M50 Mark II. I was out photographing posts that were coming out of the water, and to the left here there was also some fishermen. There was so much fog and mist that it completely blurred out the background. Now this image here started off as just B-roll, just image of me shooting the scenes, but I loved the composition so much that I went back and put on my Canon Assist app and took a photo of me taking the images. And I think this is also the thumbnail for that episode. Because of all of that fog, everything in the background is blurred out. Even the water is blurred. There's a little bit of a reflection of me in the water, but I'm silhouetted against that white backdrop because there's just so much mist. What an absolutely, I have not had a day like this since, and that was at the very beginning of shooting for my channel. Absolutely beautiful, beautiful day. Leading up to me starting my channel, I did a 52-week challenge where I took a photo every week for 52 weeks, and this was one of the photos that I took. This is my son here. We had just finished eating ice cream, and he ran up onto the hill and was walking around and looking back and forth, and I snapped a shot of him. Actually, I snapped a couple of shots of him as he was playing up on the hill. And what it is those trees. It's the series of trees here. There's two on the left-hand side of the image. There's two on the right-hand side of the image, but they're so close together that it almost, the canopy comes across as one. And then my son here is where another tree should have been. I love that pattern and how he breaks that pattern. Also the texture of the hillside here, his shadow casting down over that hillside, similar to the trees. And then also with the texture of the clouds in the background. Silhouetted with the backdrop of the trees. This is one of my favorite images, and actually another image of mine. Let me pull it down from above. This is one of my favorite images. He was walking from left to right. I asked him, "Hey, Ewan, go walk again." And he did. He went and walked for me again, and I snapped this shot. This one, I love it in the color, original color. And similarly, it's that one spot right there where it tells a story. So anyway, this one was not included in the series. Pattern, texture, and a spark of life to just blend it all together. The next image, this one was taken on my iPhone. I was on my way to work, and as I was walking to work, I just happened to look up. I think there might have been somebody nearby that was looking up at them as well, and I looked up and was like, "Whew, take a picture of that." But I really was just drawn to it because of the crows themselves really breaking that pattern, breaking that very industrial look. And it just happened to be a very clear sky that morning. Had the crows not been there, I probably would not have taken this image. I think that it's just too industrial kind of image. Although I do quite like the patterns that the wires make, without that spark of life, I think it's a bit too architectural. It needs life in that image for it to come all together for me. I think that this works perfectly with that theme of pattern and texture, and with that dash of life that really brings it all together. So far, I've taken one of the photos here on my M50 Mark II. And this image here I took on, well, actually, let's check. So this first image was taken on my R5. I think this one was also on my R5. This one on my M50 Mark II, 80D, iPhone. And let's go to the next image here. This one, the final image of the series was taken on my R5. I had gone to a place called Takikawa, and I was photographing the rapeseed fields, the nanohana, what is it called again? In not flaxseed, rapeseed, canola. That's what it is. Anyway, I had gone to photograph the nanohana, and this image did not come out in my episode. I had chosen other images, but I really felt that the texture in this one with the tractor, that really rough graded foreground, and that leads up into those very stark silhouetted trees there. The touch of life with the farmer there, it does add a nice element to it. I wish that the farmer actually was walking rather than in the tractor, but I think that this might be the weakest of the bunch for this theme, but I still quite like this image. All of these images really tie together with that description, and I think that that is what has given this a different meaning for the jury. The other images that I submitted, I think they're just as good. Technically, they're wonderful photos, but the description, it doesn't set the theme clear enough. And maybe the images did not adhere as closely to that description. I'll link all of the winners, honorable mentions from last year, this year, and the bronze winner on the Tokyo International Foto Awards website. I'll link them in the description below so you can go and check out those photos for yourself. Let me know in the comments below what you think. I think that I did okay, and I'm learning and getting better. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, and I'll see you next time.